Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD, Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. With that, I want to talk about an incredible company today and an incredible person. Johannes Harju is an AI architect and visionary founder behind Newo. We're going to learn a lot about that today. An innovative leader in AI-powered contextual targeting solutions. Newo harnesses advanced NLP technologies, transforming the digital advertising space through data-driven insights and precise multilingual content understanding. So with that, I'd like to bring Johannes on board. How you doing, Johannes?
Fine, thanks. Thanks,
What's
Gary.
the weather like in Finland today?
Right at this moment, it's slightly rain, around 14 Celsius degrees plus.
I spent a bit of time in Finland. Actually, hard to believe now. I actually spent some time not too far from you in St. Petersburg, Russia, too. So wouldn't go there now, but I had a lot of fun then. And I remember the amazing things. I remember in June time, we had white nights. And I would go to Helsinki, and it was incredible seeing those white nights. And also fishing. I've never seen fish as big as I've seen them, especially like pike and pickerel, those kind of things. So, do you fish?
Yeah, I actually live near by the lake, and yeah, there's a huge fishes here here in Finland,
I
and
mean,
I go to
it's like these things look like barracuda. They're not like normal size. I don't know what you call them there, but they look like muskellunge or walleye here in the U.S.
yeah, well, so I guess it's a Finnish fish called in Finland it's hauki. So so to say. But yeah, about the white knight, I think within a few weeks, it's the time when the sun is not setting down at all here. So
I remember trying to sleep, and I remember going to bed. And as soon as I went to bed, I said, "It's time to get up already." I couldn't believe it, and I looked, and it's freaking like 3 o'clock in the morning, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed, and 3 o'clock in the morning, the light was out. But I tell you what, it was a good time to get together with people because the parties were unbelievable that time of year.
yeah. Uh, People I meet in, for example, in Southern Europe, and I tell that okay, we have this early summer. The sun is not setting at all. It's a white night all the day and all the night. So they keep asking that how do you sleep there? Is it possible to sleep, or do you keep the whole night awake? But yeah, of course we have curtains, and yeah, you can
It's a
blindfold yourself
lot
also.
of fun. Best time of the year. So let's dive into your journey. Can you tell us about your journey to founding Newo, and then what inspired you to focus specifically on contextual targeting?
Yeah, I could say that I am a serial entrepreneur. This is my third company that I'm running, and I have been on ICT business for all my career, and earlier companies was about e-booking and e-commerce. But then around 7 years ago, I found AI interesting. It was the first times where like IBM Watson took the first steps there, and then I knew that okay, this will be the thing where I want to focus. And first, I was in computer vision, calculating stuff from video stream. But then I figured out that okay, this NLP is the thing, natural language processing, that might have huge potential in future. And so I started to learn it by myself because there was no at that time no one even had a clue about what could it be today, what it is today. So then I
You
started
know,
to think about it
I, re-
and so forth.
I remember in 2016, I was on stage in San Francisco. Now, remember, I've been involved in the AI side for 29 years, so expert systems. But I remember in 2016, we started one of the first generative AI companies, pre-transformer models. And that company was called Findo. In fact, they raised $6 million in 3 months with that. And I got on stage and I was saying, AI is going to change everything, and it's happening now. I remember somebody said that I was talking about the future 25 years from now, and so we built a company, Findo.com. Did contextual search, by the way. So I did a lot of that. So if you look at the history, right, it was a lot of stuff came out of Findo. But what was amazing is we talked about infobesity, and the problem that we all have is we have too much information around us, and how can we make sense of that? And in a sense of advertising, advertise based on doing some contextual analysis, semantics, that kind of thing. And and but people, they didn't understand. 3 years later, OpenAI started, and one of the first articles was one I wrote about how it's going to change everything, because the people that have those tools are going to have superpowers, like you say, right? The marketing agencies, but they don't get it. The companies don't get how big of superpowers they have. One thing about it's really interesting, Johannes. We have had a couple of companies from Finland inside of GSD, and they talk about having challenges raising money because it's a small market. European Union, the valuations are a lot less, even with things like slush, right? The valuations are sometimes half of what they are in other parts of the world. How do you deal with that when you have a progressive company of some really sharp folks? Finland's a bastion of really intelligent people, but how do you deal with that when you're starting your company to be able to raise the right kind of money, to be able to raise it like it is in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, of course, it's a lot harder here. So, for example, our company, we have bootstrapped it from our own pockets until now. Now we are raising to scale. But for example, in last year, I was slush and I talked with one investor and I asked that, what brings you here? Why is this so popular event? Why so huge amount of investors wants to come in Finland? And they said that okay, in Finland there's a huge talent, very talented, very technical people, very very great knowledge about deep tech and that kind of a thing. But Finnish people have very low valuations for their companies, so that's why the investors like to come to Finland to make the investment in Finnish companies. That's why. But yeah, to get the Finnish funding, that's another thing overall. But yeah, I guess it's a now we are raising from US and from Middle East. So I tried those next, I'd say.
Yeah, I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and we did an IPO on Nasdaq, $1.3 billion IPO, and or sold the company for 1.3 billion, raised over $30 million. But one of the things that's interesting is you really need three things, right? The operational expertise, the access to capital, network, and contacts. And if you have those three in a resilient team, any company can become a unicorn. Most people don't realize it. They talk about pivoting, but you can pivot to success, or a pivot can be going around in a circle. So, you've had expensive experience with the AI NLP across multiple ventures. What are some key insights that you've garnered from your previous roles that you've put into Newo?
Yeah, well, when we found Newo, or in Finland we pronounce it Neuwo. So um, the surprise was how difficult it was to create the predictions so accurate that they are today. It took 2 years to convince our first customers, Finnish publishers, that we are able to get the predictions so high. So what we do is that we classify data. We classify a lot, very fast and very accurate. So to get the classifier work as good as it is today, uh, the money we spent was at very different level that we thought that it would have been. So we had to put a lot more effort and money to get. So I could say that creating AI by yourself, and that was the time when you had to do it by yourself. And of course, our business and our technology is such that we had to do it ourselves because we are dealing first with Finnish language, which is so difficult that no one else had bothered to even try to create a good classifier with NLP to
I mean,
match
the
all the
Finnish
contents.
language, I remember from my graduate school that it had 16 cases, if I remember. It's a very complex language. And I think, from what I recall, there's only one other language. I think it's Hungarian. It's even in the same family group, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. So let's talk about it. Could you elaborate on how Newo's real-time analysis works without relying on cookies or tracking?
Yeah, so like you said, we are totally cookieless, ID-less. So, but we can even predict the reader demographic information based on the content. So we have created a huge pool of data where we analyze the typical reader and also the common taxonomies used for marketing at targeting. So basically what we do is when a publisher sends us article's content, we analyze it and we return it to attach into the metadata of the article. Or then we analyze it in the header bidding layer or other ways. But nevertheless, from content, we can get all the taxonomies needed to target advertisement, totally cookieless and ID-less.
Let's deep dive. My audience here that we have is worldwide, right? We're at what 160, 170 countries around the world that listen in on our podcast, and we appreciate it. Whether it's Apple or Google, Anchor FM, Spotify, etc. Thanks to all of you for making this show so well known. Um, on the AI community, one of the questions that I have, it says, Newo uses one of the world's fastest supercomputers. Can you explain how this infrastructure significantly boosts your service's capability and efficiency?
Yeah, so we use it to train our modeling uh, because, for example, there's this IAB audience taxonomy. It has 1,700 categories on 6 tier levels. It means that when you create model, you have uh, almost 100,000 columns. And when you feed like 10 million rows of data to such amount of columns, the memory it uses and requires is too much for any normal computer or any server or any computer that you can get from any cloud. So that's why we had to use the supercomputer to create the modeling because the structure is so complicated. So that's why we use the Lumi supercomputer located in northern Finland. So Europe's fastest computer.
So, how does Newo's NLP model handle qualitative multilingual content, and why is a multilingual capability critical in today's globalized environment?
Yeah, like I told that we started with Finnish language. So after that, every language is a kind of a piece of cake, I'd say. So yeah, we are totally language agnostic nowadays, and especially we are very good in European languages. Of course, all the major languages as well, but also in minor languages.
So, you mentioned Newo's AI mimics human brain processing. We've seen that in one of the articles. Could you elaborate on what that looks like practically for advertising? What does it mean?
Yeah, it means that when we analyze the content and we can estimate what kind of a reader would be reading this kind of an article. So we can estimate is it male, female, and what kind of a age group and so forth is the visitor that is reading this without any information about the visitor. So that means that we have a huge ontology and semantic understanding of the data behind it. So from that neural network, we can map pieces of the content of what kind of readers has been consuming this kind of a content. And that's how it can think like human about the content that, okay, this person would be ideal reading this kind of a content.
Yeah, we worked on variational encoders, ladder networks, ontology back in 2016. Um, Knowledge graphs, those parts, but those parts are really important today when we look at dealing with, for all of you out there, we call it infobesity. The infobesity challenge that we all have, there's too much data around us. How do we make sense of it? And again, how do we make money and become a profitable company by using the smallest amount of resources, we're getting the most amount of impact. So sustainability, Johannes, is becoming increasingly important even in digital marketing. How does Newo contribute to reducing unnecessary carbon impacts through its technology?
Yeah, that is actually quite significant factor as um, digital advertisement actually generates huge amount of pollution in that sense, and we can reduce the wasted impressions by analyzing, for example, MFA made for advertising sites. We block them, and overall, we don't display advertisement in vain. So only in meaningful content, and we have a lot better CTR click-through rates by using contextual targeting. So that's how we reduce. And of course, the Lumi supercomputer is 100% carbon neutral as the heat is used to warm up residences in northern Finland, and the power is made from sun and rivers. So that's how we can bring and enable a lot greener advertisement.
Let's go back to the MFA. Could you describe the impact of MFA made for advertising on the publishers, the impact on digital publishing, and how Newo addresses these challenges?
Yeah, well, thanks to generative AI that can generate content almost like human-like, and that's why there are these MFA websites. Those are the content is automatically generated there, and all the advertisement is automatically also generated through SSPs and DSPs, and also the traffic is
Can you tell them
automatic.
what SSPs are so they know, Johannes, what are SSPs and DSPs, just so everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, the uh, SSPs and DSPs are the ones that are displaying the advertisement almost on every web page. Those are the systems that display the advertisement there. So, and the programmatic advertisement is such that it's totally automatic. Advertisement is created by automated machines. So, and then if there's a MFA site, uh, it might be that there is no human generating any content. All the visitors are robots, robot generated visiting. So the ad spend goes just into the air. There's no real impressions, and we can analyze, we can detect those MFA sites, and we block them automatically. We do not display any advertisement there. So that's one of the biggest arising thing nowadays, that this generative AI has caused the rise of MFA also.
How easy is it for advertisers to customize their targeting with Newo, and what immediate improvements can they typically expect?
Uh, the right improvement comes with the CTR, click-through rate in the content, and also we enable auto tagging and brand safety. So the advertisement is always brand safe, and you can utilize our system through APIs, or you can buy our audiences from those SSPs that I mentioned earlier.
Looking ahead, how do you feel the evolution of AI and NLP further transforming, how it's going to further transform digital advertising? And let's look over the next 5 years. What kind of changes do you think are going to take place?
Yeah, if I would know that, I think it would be great. But as we see that every year for the last 2 years or 3 years, there's a huge development and all the new things and all the uh, AI is changing everything. So, but at least the content generation and of course uh, it changes the way people look for information and how web pages are analyzed. Most probably they are analyzed by AI, but also I believe that the human touch is very important in future because AI generated content is almost as good as someone would have created it. But as most of our customers are news websites, of course, there is the bigger need to create the content by humans, not AI. But of course, AI assistant comes in every place. In every corner, there's nowadays some AI agent doing something, and I guess that will be kind of the future to be able to utilize those AI agents in right places.
You know what? So if you look at it over time, what advice would you give advertising brands who haven't yet embraced contextual targeting?
Yeah, I really think that they should at least try and see the results, see the quality it brings, and of course, it's totally um, secure. So there's no e-privacy issues, no tracking issues. So totally safe to try, and the results can be seen. But of course, there are some contextual vendors who does very light contextual, I'd say only very light keyword search, and that's totally different from actually what we do as we do the semantic analysis. So when and if you choose some contextual vendor and try, take a look how they do it, how they perform, and what the results really are.
What kind of, if you look at that specifically, what kind of improvements, just on an average, do you think a company could get in terms of click through rates and those kind of things? How much of an impact do you have, and what do you impact?
Uh, from one publisher, I can say the number was 47% better CTR than on cookie-based advertisement. So that's a fairly big number, and it comes right back as some money.
So, um, where can listeners connect with you? And closing thoughts, and where can listeners best connect with you? LinkedIn, email, and what are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, please. For example, use the LinkedIn. It's a fairly easy to get in touch with me. And I say about the closing words. So yeah, we are really looking for scaling to US and other places as well across the continent. So really looking forward hearing and contacting a lot of people in this industry, or of course VCs and angels and so forth.
Sounds great. If you could just hang around once we're done with the show, I'll come back. You'll go in the green room. But to all of you out there, thank you for joining one more time. GSD presents Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. And again, thanks to all of you. Today we hit 1 million views. And it's thanks to all of you for joining us. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.